right, y'all.
I'd like to call the East Ascension Drainage meeting to order for April 13th, 2021. Let it be known that Mr. Turner, Mr. Joel, Mr. Aaron, and Mr. Michael are absent. Some of them might show up a little bit later than work. Mr. Corey, would you lead us in the invocation, followed by the pledge?
Certainly, thank you. Please prepare yourselves for prayer. Lord God, as we come before you this evening, please place your grace and your blessings upon everyone involved in this meeting. After a day of the blessings that you bestowed upon us with the magnificent rain that we received, it is blatantly obvious that Ascension Parish needs to focus on drainage. And I'm glad to state that we are here this evening to do just that, Lord. Lord God, one of our council members has a son that's ailing this evening. So I'm asking everyone to please say an extra special prayer today for Riley Lawler, for him to recover from his sports-related injuries. And Lord, as you are looking over Riley, look over all the citizens of Ascension Parish who are ailing or who are injured, who are just hurt. And please lay your blessings and your love upon them as we move forward, Lord. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank everyone for being here. We will move on to if anyone wishing to speak on any agenda item, please sign in with Ms. Liz. Number 4, the acceptance of minutes for the March 15th meeting.
Motion to accept.
Moved by Mr. Terry, second by Mr. Johnny. On chairman's report, just want to let everyone know tonight we'll be making history tonight. A lot of these projects and different things on the board have been around for quite some time, and very excited for the parish. With that, we'll go on to drainage report. Mr. Ron.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. Thank you. So obviously we had a few events this weekend that really is on the forefront at the moment with the roughly tornadoes and things in Santa Monica and a lot of rain through that night. Over the weekend, we had roughly 20, 30 trees over the roads and power lines down, and our crews responded to that. So I want to thank them for that. Also want to thank the volunteers that went out to the river cleanup through the weekend. Through all that bad weather, they still showed up and made some efforts there and did a good job. So we want to thank them. Our crews are currently out responding to the rain event we had today. We also had some high winds and large volume of trees across streets. They got crews out clearing roads and getting that back open as of now. And we're manning all of our pumping stations. Marvin, Bro, Henderson, and Sorrento. Floodgate at Dog Bayou has been shut since the event through the weekend. And we'll continue to man those stations throughout the next couple of days with these rain events that's forecasted. So I want to really point out Mr. Arthur Shakesnyder today. He had some mechanical issues at Marvin Bro on 1 or 2 of the engines, and he pulled it together, and all 7 of them are rolling for you right now. So they're doing a great job out there and pulling the teams together and coming to the table for the residents with that. Also want to highlight Mike Enlow and our team working with our consultants, GSA and Kimberly Cole, as you'll see later in the agenda. A lot of group efforts there were had, and like you said, Chairman, it's been a long road getting some of these projects to where they are right now. And so kudos to all the efforts that were made on all of that. And the routine work orders, we completed roughly 38 work orders in the month of March in the drainage department through on-road, off-road, major drainage, various things. So I tell you all the time, anytime you got a question or concern about any particular project, just give us a shout. We'll try to address anything you may have concerns with. So with that, we have a rather lengthy agenda. I'll turn it over to our consultants and let them start the project updates on that end, unless you guys have any questions.
Oh, please, come on, give me.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
First, foremost Fish Bayou update. We are going out for advertisement on Thursday, so plans will be available for purchase at our office or on Central Auction House. The bid opening is in May, so hopefully we'll start construction end of May, early June. Any questions?
Oh, I'm sure you got a question there, Ms. Terry.
Just congratulations. I want to cut a ribbon, okay? Or dig a hole with a shovel. I mean, let's do something. Thank you so much, Kimberly. We
Thank you.
could not have done this without you. I can tell you and the parish president and the staff, President Quintmall was certainly not available in some of the meetings early on in this, but Ron was. Kimberly stood her ground and really helped us to get this done. So I'm very, very grateful. I know the people of my district will be grateful, and I just look forward to the construction. I hope it's a big old mess.
It will
We'll be
be.
glad to have it. Just whatever it takes to get it done. Thank you so much.
Thanks. I'll keep you posted on the schedule so you can make a trip out there and move the first shovel of dirt.
I'd love to. Thank you very much.
All right, next up, Highway 22. As most of you are aware of, the governor did announce funding of $42 million towards the LA 22 bridge project, which led to a resolution for Laurel Ridge levee extension. We have been coordinating with OCD, CPRA, and DOTD regarding the next steps in the grant process, but we did furnish some requested information to OCD in addition to our round one application. So as we get more information on how the grant process is going to work, we'll update y'all. But that's all I really have regarding that at this time. We do have budget, schedule, and impact area in your packet. And then I have any information if anyone has any questions.
Continue on.
Okay. Finally,
Real
Laurel
quick,
Ridge.
real quick.
Okay.
Go ahead,
I haven't
Mr.
received
Chase.
a packet yet for 22.
I sent one earlier, but I also have it in my hand, so I can show it to you
Oh,
after the
okay.
meeting if you want to see it. And then I can give you the full grant, round one application if you want the H&H report or any other supplementary information.
Okay,
I'll email it to you tomorrow,
Perfect.
the whole package.
thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Kimberly, I looked back through my calendar trying to find the first meeting we had several years ago with HNTB and Melissa about Highway 22 when that was proposed as a project, and I could not find it. Is that something that you would have?
I don't have the project has changed a good bit since then. I know there were some preliminary reports,
Right.
which HNTV's here, they might be able to give information on that, but we have an updated H&H model. It's 2 bridge structures now, doesn't have any impact on the existing Laurel Ridge levee, and it's quite a bit of drainage excavation, so I can share our H&H reports.
Fantastic. I was just trying to have a date where we started so that I can see if maybe we're doing this more quickly.
Oh, I'm not sure.
Okay, I'll find out. I can't find it in my calendar. Somebody knows. Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Laurel Ridge levy extension, so we do have a resolution. Livingston, Ascension, and PLD are in agreement, so the levy project is moving forward. The lawsuit's been withdrawn. We will have final plans done in the next month or two. White with PLD is here for right-of-way acquisition. If y'all have any specific questions, that is going to take a little bit longer than the plan set itself because, as y'all are aware, there are a lot of projects going on right now. So unfortunately, that means appraisal work is hard to get right now because everyone's busy with other projects in the area. So I know they're working as best as they can to expedite that process, but it's probably going to be another 8 to 10 months for right-of-way acquisition, and that's through the full process of appraisals, expropriation, what have you. So we are hoping to complete this project or at least start construction by the end of the year.
Great, great. All right, before we bring Dwight up, Mr. Corey, you have anything for Kimberly?
Nothing.
Mr. Chase?
Yeah, I'm gonna hop up on my soapbox real quick just because it's first time we talked about it publicly since it's settled, but, for last months, Miss Cole, Dwight Poirier sitting back there in the bench, and Mr. Chip Klein with CPRA, Mr. Paul Sawyer, Congressman Greaves, Chief of Staff. We've talked, not daily, but 3 to 4 times a week for the last months, and I just want to let you and everyone else know, my gratitude. I made my phone calls 3 weeks ago, but out here in public, I just want to let y'all know that without, all 4 of y'all and the many other people, this doesn't get done. So I'm truly appreciative, and every Ascension Parish citizen should be as well. So thank all of you.
Thank you. You pushed hard too.
Ms. Terry?
I'm good. I just congratulate you, Kimberly
Dow.
and Chase.
I'd like to be on the list to just see the package also.
Of course.
See some of the design.
Same here. Okay, thank you.
Nothing else?
If you could just mail it to us all, Kimberly.
Yeah, I'll send it out
Okay.
to all of y'all in a Dropbox link, just with the entire
Perfect.
application set.
Thank you.
Mr. President, no problem. Thank you for doing it, Kim.
I just want to give a shout out to everybody. This has all been a joint effort with this Drainage Board and with the administration, as well as our consultants. This is a monumental day. I mean, I don't know if people can understand breaking ground on this many major projects. It's huge, it's big, and we have another one to discuss in a minute, a little further down the agenda. This is monumental. This really affects our residents. This is what they've been clamoring for since 2016, and this board and administration are making it happen. So we can all give ourselves a little pat on the back of the shoulder, because we deserve it. This has been a great effort by all of us, and it's great to see hopefully some dirt turning and some ribbon cutting very soon as these projects break ground. So super excited. Thank you, Chair.
Appreciate you. Mr. Joel, I'm sorry, Mr. Joel and Mr. Michael are in now. You had anything for Ms. Kimberly? I know we're on the first ABC of the projects.
I'm good.
You good? If you don't mind, Kimberly, and Mr. Poirier, if you don't mind coming up for just a second. Yeah, just a little history back to, and then it all started back out in the Santa Monica Park Recreation Center. It's no longer there now. It's been a long road, I'm gonna tell you, to where we are now. But just a couple of things. Right-of-way acquisition on the Laurel Ridge levee, a few other things I got here. You do have quick take ability, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. We are updating appraisals now. We have appraisals on all the tracks. We have surveys. We have title reports. We just have to update everything, because to do the expropriation, we need to have a more current appraisal, because we had some delay, of course. And then we also need to update the title reports. There've actually been some ownership transfers with several of the tracks. We've all done the title updates. We're waiting on the appraisals, the good expropriation appraisals that we want to go to war with in a courtroom if we have to. Hopefully, we don't have to, but if we do, we want qualified, very good people that, and they're all busy right now. There's a lot of public works projects out there, so we are having them updated. We expect the appraisals to be done within 90 days. As soon as we get an appraisal in, though, and it's updated, we're going to begin work on that track. We're hopeful that a lot of this can be done by conventional acquisition, by essentially negotiating with the landowner. But if not, we're going to proceed forward with the expropriation. There's some we know we have to expropriate just because of the number of owners and the type of maybe title issues that are on the property. We need to do the expropriation. So we're planning to do that. We're in line to do that, and we're looking forward to getting this thing moving again finally.
Good. Kick all the dust up you need, man. We ready for this one.
I don't think there's any dust out there today.
Mud.
Yes, we definitely ready.
But no, we're excited, and I know Pontchartrain Levee District's excited. This is a project that's very important to us. Ascension Parish and East Ascension Gravity Drainage District is our biggest supporter of Ascension Parish, of Pontchartrain Levee District in terms of tax dollars. And we certainly want to make an impact here, and we've tried to make an impact here. This has been a project that's been, I think, started around 2008.
That's correct.
And so my board got tired of hearing me saying, just give me time, give me time. So
Yeah.
we're excited, and we hopefully can get this thing moving on a fast track and getting this thing started and getting some dirt moving.
Appreciate you. Thank you, Dwight. Anything else, Kimberly? Nothing. Thank
I
y'all
do
so
have one
much.
more
Go ahead, Mr. J.
And I don't know if this is for Mr. Dwight or maybe Jean Paul. Us with the property acquisition, is it necessary for us to pass a resolution given the parish president, POD? Okay, so POD is gonna take care of that?
We're the permit holder, we're gonna actually be doing the project, and then at the completion of the project, we're gonna turn it over to East Central Gravity Drainage District.
Okay.
And part of the reason for that is our ability to acquire the real estate. So we have all the resolutions in place, we're ready to go, we're working, in fact, I got a bunch of reports just recently, today, so we're working now. So we actually do not need anything, I guess, from this board, but we'll keep you updated, maybe through Kim more so than me. We'll keep you updated through the process. But in 90 days, we should be completed with the appraisals, which is our probably biggest time delay. So we're ready to go. So.
Super. Mr. Terry?
Yes, so it's possible that quick take will be necessary, that we'll have to exercise some quick take on the state's behalf in order to, did I understand you correctly?
Right, we're gonna have to expropriate, we know we're gonna have to do several tracks. I think there's around 31, 32 tracks that's involved. We do think we can have some negotiated settlements with, some of the landowners. We had those talks a while back. We haven't had any talks, but what we're not gonna do is we're not gonna play around negotiating. We're gonna kind of set it and go through the process so we're not delaying, because one of our big issues on this project is the time. We in year 3 of the core permit, we soon have to renew the DNR permit, which is a 2-year permit, correct? So we don't really have the luxury to try to negotiate with somebody for a long time. We certainly want to work with them. We have appraisers that's going to do a good job, and we don't lowball. We go in and we do what's a fair and equitable price for the property. So we hopefully can reach a lot by agreement. But in trying to reach the agreement, the whole time we're going to be moving forward in the expropriation process, so we're not incurring additional delays. That makes it much tougher for us to renew permits and not meet the deadlines we need to meet with the respective agencies.
So if I may ask, the administration is going to be supportive of quick take efforts on behalf of the Pontchartrain Levy District?
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Y'all can blame us.
Pardon?
Y'all can blame us.
Sure, we'll be happy to.
We're excited.
Mr. John, anything? Nothing else? Well, look, we definitely appreciate the team effort, and, let's start moving on it. Appreciate y'all. And I just want to also thank the past and present parish presidents. We've been through a lot, and councilmen too, all the past and present. But I have to give a thanks to a good friend, Mr. Nicky Prejean. He's really stuck it out, and he's lived back there all these years, and he's kind of one of those ones that stuck with us this whole time. So I'm glad we finally seeing this coming to an end. So thank y'all. Mr. President.
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to our previous councilman, Mr. Randy Kluot, who has
Sure.
been a integral part in this process. And he's now serving on PLD as a member. So we're really going to give a shout out to him for his efforts on this as well. Thank you.
Good deal.
Real quick.
And look, I know there's a list of names we could name all night, but I know they want to see the end product on this.
I
Mr.
don't know,
Johnny?
what is it about Santa Ma that they all say real quick before they get ready to tell you something? Chase does it too.
Oh, yeah. Mr. Johnny?
I've been on this is my second go-round on the parish council, and even when I was on the city council in 2008, I heard discussions about this. And it's been a long, long road, a lot of people. And if I named them all, we'd be here all night, but a lot of people had a lot to do with the success of this. And I'm just excited that it's finally coming to fruition. It's gonna happen. It's historical. And it's a shame that we didn't have that levy in 2016. I think a lot of homes would have been saved, but we're gonna take matters into our hands and get it done. So, thank you, Mr. President, council, and drainage board members, and all the engineers and everybody who's had anything to do with it. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Mr. Joe?
I just want to reiterate that, and also, since you brought up Mr. Nicky Prejean, all the way back in 2016, I remember having the pleasure of riding on an airboat with him, and y'all know how I like to get all in, dirty in the field. I also went swimming right there at Mr. Nicky Prejean's, by
Yeah.
choice, but
Oh, yeah, yeah.
that's all I had to say.
Thank you, Joe. We'll move on to D, floodplain management. Mr. John?
Good evening, members of the board. My name is John Monson. I'm here with HNTB. I've been with HNTB for about 6 months, although I'm not totally a stranger to floodplains management and whatnot. I spent 14 years at DOTD doing public works. I spent 6 years at CPRA as chief operations, and in my last job, I spent 6 years as the director of the West Bank Levee District on the west bank of New Orleans, managing the Algiers and West Jeff Levee District. So thanks for having me here tonight. I'm going to wait for the presentation to come up. Okay, here we go. I was also lived on Bluff Road for 15 years, so neighbor with Miss Castle for quite some time. So not unfamiliar to Ascension Parish floodplain management issues. So what we're doing here is we're developing a floodplain management plan. It has 5 major tasks. We're in the data collection stage right now. That's a 6-month task. We're also going to be developing the design criteria and methodology. Methodology, that was going to take about 3 months. The flood hazard assessment, where we look at the existing conditions and the modeling, that's a 12-month process. Flood risk reduction, that's an 11-month process. And the final floodplain management report, it's going to take us about 12 months to put it out. Total, we'll have a floodplain management plan for you all in about 23 months. Data collection. So this is what we're proposed to do. We are going to collect data on 100 stream miles that you see there, and 500 structures and crossings. Major channels will be done first. We've identified some of the preliminary channels, and we're working with the parish for some other ones that are going to be renamed. So we're going to prioritize based on what the parish believes is going to help us, and then also we're going to provide input and to see what's going to be best to develop that model. The basins we're looking at are Manchac, about 71 structures there, Henderson, 77, Marvin Roads, Phase 2, and Conway and Panama Canal will be in Phase 2. So, but we do expect to start working on the model in Manchac in about a month to a month and a half, because the data collection will be done first. Data collection parameters, we're going to be looking at channel profiles, 200-foot spacings along the channels. We're going to capture distinct changes in the channel profile. The channel cross sections along the stream segments will be done about every 1,500 feet, and areas with significant cross-sectional changes will be captured as well. Crossings and structures, bridges and culverts, crossings and obstructions to flow, any significant obstruction to flow. Data collection coordination, we're going to be trying to gather as much data as we can from other sources, such as the LWI proposed surveys, the Move Ascension program, and parish provided survey data from other entities like Pontchartrain Levee District, H. Davis Cole, and others. On the design criteria and methodology, we're going to be developing the H&H modeling criteria, which is the roadmap for modeling methodology. We're going to be looking at project and policy development criteria, and also the project prioritization tool, which will be a roadmap for project benefit cost analysis. Will help you sort out the projects. On the flood hazard assessment, we're going to look at the historical flood risk assessment, look at the March and August of 2016 flood inundation, current FEMA flood maps, critical infrastructure, repetitive loss data, that's homes that have flooded more than once. and properties. High water marks, basically August 2016, when that was the high water mark, and we're going to identify historical high and low flood areas. The flood hazard assessment, there's the 4 basins that we're looking at, the individual basin models. As mentioned earlier, Manchac, Henderson, Marvin Bro, and Bayou Conway and Panama Canal. From those, we're going to develop a regional model, and then we're going to calibrate it and validate it. So, I mean, you can have all the models in the world, but until you calibrate it and validate it with real world, you know, we're going to go through that process as well. Flood risk reduction. We're going to assess which structures flood. We're going to determine the depth of the flooding based on finished floor elevations and the type of finished floor. Calculate damages, develop mitigation projects to reduce risk, calculate flood reduction benefits, and the inundation maps. So this will all be helpful tools for the parish. The report itself. So it's going to have all the data collection that we pick up, the historical assessment, the design criteria, the flood risk assessment and mapping with the modeling, flood risk mitigation strategies and policy project development, and project prioritization, benefit cost analysis. So why have a floodplain master plan? Here's some of the benefits. We'll generate a list of recommended projects and policies and associated costs. It'll help with series of flood risk maps to utilize as a tool to prepare for impending storms. It will provide data that supports an improvement to your community rating system and a potential reduction in flood risk insurance flood rate insurance rates parish-wide. I believe currently Ascension Parish has a rating of 8. And, you know, with a floodplain management plan and other improvements, you can improve that every point you move up. The policyholders can save up to 5% for every point. So it'd be a welcome to, you know, anyone who is in the NFIP floodplain, flood insurance. And then lastly, this tool will help the parish, not necessarily in this task, but once this floodplain management plan is done, it will help you evaluate developments, inform of potential ordinance codes, and the use of a LOMAR with FEMA if applicable. So that is, those will be the benefits of the floodplain master plan. And with that, I will leave it up to have any questions.
Go ahead, Mr.
Hey, thanks for that. I appreciate it. A couple questions came up as you were going through that. On repetitive loss data, that's something that I've kind of been asking here lately. As far as, is that something that, so when you say you're going to go get that data, because I've asked, I think I've asked someone internally in the parish, and I've also asked like Hughes Insurance, is that a tool that other communities use to identify trouble spots?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
How hard is it to get that data? Is that something that we could use? I've thought about this, Ryan, I've probably never talked to you about it, but is this something where we can look at repetitive loss in the parish to identify bottlenecks in our drainage? I mean, is that something we can do before you get to this task? I mean, I guess what I'm asking is how hard is it to get that data?
You have to dig for it, yeah, sure, but it can be obtained through FEMA. And so, you know, when they pay out claims, they know which homes have filed claims numerous times. So it's mostly from FEMA and flood insurance.
Okay. I mean, I'm just, yeah, I'll go ahead and ask the question. I mean, I just think it's a good idea to use it.
Yeah, it's not a question, it's really a statement just to follow up on John. So FEMA's a partial picture. We need to use our permits department as well, so people who are permitting to have flood damage. We also got to look at some of the assessors' data, like they had a ton of data from the 2016, where they had, I don't know if you remember, they marked them in red, the flooded structures, because they got an assessment for that year. So if this board would like the administration to start accumulating that data so that we can have that data set, certainly something we can do if the board would like us to move in that direction.
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously, we don't have to, you know, I'm one person, but I just think that would be a good tool. Not so much, I don't know, I think for an extreme event like 2016, obviously that data is important, but I'm talking about a day like today where we get specific questions about, you know, there's more water in my yard, got closer this time. I just think it would be a good idea to try to use that data to try to identify bottlenecks and maybe identify projects, maybe ahead of, these guys putting this out there. I think it's a tool that we can maybe use. I don't know how much it would cost to do or what I'd like to see us identify a project to maybe try to use that data, in our day-to-day maintenance type work.
Would you
where
like
we're
us
trying
to put a
troubleshoot.
proposal before the next month, the drainage board member?
Yeah,
or what that would take
I
from
could
you?
work with, I'd like to work with somebody that knows more about the FEMA. I've tried to dig and I haven't found what I needed, but
Is this something that we can take up during the steering committee, or? Maybe outside of
It's
that
going to
scope?
require quite a bit of data research and collection, as well as organization and setting those data sets to see how far we can go back. So if someone floods and they fix it themselves, it'll be hard for us to have a record of that. So that's going to be missing data in there. So we'd have to go back through our permitting department, look at flood damages on different storms, and kind of take that approach. We could start trying to get feedback from the public through announcements saying, hey, would you please let us know if you flooded or a structure flooded? And so that we can start keeping that database moving forward. But I would think this is going to be quite the task of putting all that data together that you may want. I don't think, it'd be difficult for staff to.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, if
So
it-
we may need to come with a proposal for a company to come and do that as well.
That is a great point. We were just gonna take a glance over of repetitive losses from what we can gather from FEMA databases. But not everyone carries flood insurance. And so if you have, 10 homes on the street and 3 homes have flood insurance and they file a claim, but the other 7 homeowners took it upon themselves, well, you won't know that. Now, based on that, you can look at a map and say, okay, if these 3 homes flooded, then, the odds are that these other 7 did. But quantifying that and how far do you want to go back, that does become difficult. So we can only gather, the easiest thing is to go see what FEMA has, but that's not the silver bullet.
no, and I think that's a start. I mean, I certainly don't want us to spend $1 million to, but I think it's worth trying to outline it or look at it to see if there's something there where we could use it as a tool. Yeah, no, I don't know that I'd be willing to spend a lot of money to go get, do the surveys and things like that. But I think that maybe a good start would be the FEMA data just to see what turns up. If that's an easy query to do, then maybe we should do it that way. Just a comment I thought of while he was going through that plan.
Anything else, Mr. Dow?
I do. So, I've worked on Move Ascension and you guys go get grants for projects. Is that currently part of this project scope or not? As far as once we get the data, you said prioritize projects.
Yeah, so, in our task, we're gonna be looking at starting out with about 60 projects.
Okay.
And using the prioritization tool, whittle it down to about 30, based on, numerous sets of criteria.
Okay.
So, we'll use a benefit cost analysis approach.
Okay.
And to try to prioritize those projects.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Chase?
I've had a lot of people ask me what this might gonna look like, in January of 2023. And I don't do the best job with my very simple mind in layman terms. Could you give us in very layman terms, and very briefly, exactly what this model is going to look like whenever, $2.7 million down the road, 23 months, and we have this. What is this going to look like that the parish is going to be able to?
So you're gonna get some maps, okay? You're gonna get some maps that are gonna show you where your trouble areas are. You're also gonna get, you're gonna have a better idea as to where the water's going. If I take a cup of water and I drop it on this flat podium, that water's gonna run fast, it's gonna run everywhere. But if I take that same cup of water and I spill it on this carpet, that water's not gonna spread as fast, the carpet's gonna absorb some of it. Rainfall acts the same way. In Ascension Parish, some of it's gonna run quickly, some of it's not gonna run quickly. But depending on what you have in place, that's what we need to find out. How fast is that water moving? Where is it moving? And where can we store some of that water to better plan for the floodplain? So that, in layman's terms, that's what it's gonna do. It's gonna tell you where the water's going and how much of it's going where and how much you can probably store. And it'll give you the maps and tools to assess that and, look at your parish wide and, plan for future.
And these maps, this is going to be a living document, as you would call it, to where if we if we had a large strip mall, a retail center, or development,
Yeah, so-
and we would be able to plug it into this model, modify the model to the new watershed, and as Ascension Parish continues to grow and develop, we can just we have this base model that we are continuously changing. Which I know that's all that's separate, it's extra cost, but we're going to have this base model to start with.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a set of Lego blocks. You got some Lego blocks, and then you want to add another Lego block and see what that looks like. So this is what the model is going to do. In theory, we will be able to give the model to a developer per se. We're not going to do it, but the developer can use the model to plug his development in and see what it'll do. So that's something else that you'll be able to do. Am I right in that? I mean, am I-
Mr. President?
in theory.
So the 2D modeling is a very complicated tool, and it requires a very extensive amount of data. So what we're working closely with HNTB, and they're working very good, a good working relationship, is we only have 500 points, 500 structures. And so in order to get an accurate model, if you miss structures on a canal, it's inaccurate. So you have to get a base model in place. Now, you can use LiDAR and topographics and do these sheets and do elevations and things, but if you get any of the structures inaccurate or not surveyed within a major channel, it then becomes inaccurate. And then when you go off the laterals, because of that inaccuracy, it grows exponentially. Your inaccuracies grow. So it's very important to have a base of our major channels to be accurate within the 500 points. It may be a situation that we may have to add points to that, depending upon the number of structures. We're currently doing that as analysis with HNTB to ensure that we can get at least the base of our major channels as accurate as possible. Because if that's not accurate, then it starts to get inaccuracy throughout the model as you start to branch off your major channels. So we have to have that base layer, like you talked, that base model as accurate as possible to move forward. And we're working very closely with them, but that's in progress right now.
Then one of the things we're going to do is we're going to present Biomanchac first and take a look at it, and we'll use that as the basis to develop the rest of the other three basins and then entire East Ascension system.
I got you. I just wanted a layman's terms explanation, because you wouldn't believe this, but I've been criticized for voting to spend $2.7 million on a floodplain study. So
Well, a lot of it is data collection, right? And you got to do it smart. We itemized 500 points initially based on what we thought were primary channels, but coordinating with the parish, realized that we need to pick up some and then we need to drop some, because they may not be as important to develop that base model that we're talking about. The most important thing is developing that base model. So, surveying, picking up these points, it takes a lot of time. Some of these we're going to walk. So, some of these surveyors are going to be out there walking these channels, making sure that they're picking up everything that's important to get that model done. And then the modeling runs take, and I'm not a modeler, I'm just a civil engineer, but I'm not a modeler. But I do understand that they take time as well. So you got to put in all these data points and then run the model and see what you get. And you got to do it, you got to run them again. You got to do hundreds of runs to get it run right. And then you got to validate it, right? So if the model shows that water's going here, but when it rains, Ron calls me, he says, nah, dude, that water ain't going there, that water's going the other way. Then we got to validate that,
Yeah.
So.
You good? Mr. Joe?
As far as what Councilman Wagisback was addressing, some of the information that's there now that we can obtain, shouldn't the parish have something for waste collection? Also during that time, during 2016, where we went out and picked up the large amounts of waste in the San Amar area and the different parts that flooded, or that wasn't the parish?
I think we could go back, Joel, and look at that data. It's a lot of that was done through the planning department, through the permitting process, but that's just one piece of it, like the President was saying.
Yeah,
I think there's many layers of it, but yeah, there's definitely some data out there. But it would
And
take a
kinda what I
collective
was-
effort to get it all in one place.
Where I was going with that is, we exactly as you're saying, we can use that avenue, but like the president was saying, I feel like our most our most responsive way would be asking the public, because this is something that the public cares about. If somebody flooded, they want the parish to know about it. So maybe if we did a small little advertising type deal on Channel 21 and a website to where they can either call in and give us that information, or, you know, have some type of portal where they can put that information in themselves.
Sure. I would encourage you to pass the word, tell them to call our call center. Anytime that does happen at this point going forward, we definitely get a record
Well,
of
yeah,
that.
absolutely.
But sure, I mean, that's all would be part of what the proposal, I would assume, if we go that route. That would all be part of the public outreach and actually including
Yeah.
that as one layer of it as well.
And we can kind of use that information that we're getting in this short term to decide more of where they're going on some of their longer-term things.
So
President?
on some of the repetitive loss issues, also the benefit of having that data would be to let those residents know that they qualify for certain grants. I know Livingston Parish is having a very difficult time in getting those citizens and getting them information, and they just simply didn't know they would qualify. So we could use that data to reach out to them and say, you flooded twice or 3 times, you're eligible for these grants, and then hopefully they would apply for those grants. So it would be a beneficial tool, there's no doubt in that.
Good deal. Ms. Terry?
Thank you. Is modeling, help me to understand, because I'm kind of like Chase, I don't have an engineering mind. Is this modeling predictive? So the National Weather Service tells us that we're going to have 6 inches of rain south of I-10 and a hurricane that's approaching the area. Is this something we can plug in and predict where we might have problems with certain rain levels or storms?
It'd be hard for me to say because as the National Weather Center goes, you know, they try to predict where and how much rain you're gonna get, but it's a crapshoot, you know.
Sure.
I mean, I think you could get some basic idea as time goes on and you start plugging more information into the model. But right off the bat, I think you're gonna have to develop a sense for that, you know, how that's gonna fall. The intensity, it's not just 6 inches of rain, you know, it's, the intensity it's a big part of it. You 6 inches of rain in 10 minutes, it's a ton of rain. Whereas 6 inches of rain in a 3-hour period, you can handle that. So, intensity comes into play as well. I think you'll be able to get a feel for it, but I wouldn't say that you would, you know, right off the bat that you'd have that.
Thank you so much.
Mr. President?
So with the modeling, it has so many different variables on shore water levels. So if we turn the pumping station on at Marvin Road, let's just take a piece of property within that basin, well, then that's going to affect your model. And so, are you running 3 pumps? Are you running 5? Are you running 7? It's just so many variables. Which way is the wind blowing? I mean, it gets down to that. And so it would be very difficult to say that 6 inches of rain in this area, because when would you close fish and frog locks? That has an impact, whatever level that is. Then you'd have to run that calculation. It'd be very difficult for that model to give you that kind of accuracy or projection because of the amount of variables that exist in just reality of the real world. So it just would be difficult.
Thank you, sir. I think this is all helpful information for the public, and certainly it's helpful to me.
Good deal. Mr.
Just
Jones?
one more comment on that. I remember when we went to Harris County, the guy that heads up that whole effort, the hydrologist, he specifically told us that it's almost impossible to design or protect from a flash flood or predict. So I would say probably a really, if he can't do it, I don't think we're going to do it.
Yeah,
Chances
I think
are.
at best-
No offense to anybody in this room, but
Yeah.
just, I wanted to repeat that comment because I thought that was pretty profound that he repeated that to us. I think that's also important to hear that.
At best, you'll have a feel for it, but you'll never get it, you know, it's just too complicated.
Mr. John?
There's too many variables, we understand that, but to get the baseline, we're talking about a report coming in 23 months.
Correct.
And I'm going to agree with Councilman Wagasback. In the interim, let's use the data we have, and I think we've been doing that very well. But until we get that baseline, and I think that's going to be a tremendous tool, justifying the cost, to say we can target projects, we can target potential, grants that will help us get those projects accomplished. So, all in all, let's use what we have as we have been doing, and keep smiling until we get that report in hand. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
anything, just one quick thing for me, renaming channels. Ron, I know we did something back in 2006, 2007, where we named a bunch of channels. What are you talking about renaming?
Reclassifying.
Reclassifying.
Yeah, name it, reclassifying. So there are three sets of classifications. And some are called primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary. But some of those secondaries are borderline. They actually act as primaries. So we're going to include some of those secondaries as main channels. And some of the ones that we identified as main, turns out maybe they're not as important because they don't drain, say, a heavily populated area. For instance, Alligator Bayou. Alligator Bayou is a primary channel, but it doesn't drain, in and around the Alligator Bayou area, there's not a lot of homes or properties that flood. I mean, the area does flood. So it's just reclassification of what we consider a main channel as opposed to a primary or secondary channel.
Chairman, if you don't mind, we had forwarded them the exact document you're talking about, the adopted laterals by the
Sure.
Ascension Drainage, and they're not renaming any of them. They're, once we looked at the proposal of the structures and we got down into it, what is a navigable waterway would be a significant or major canal, like Severio, Black Bayou, New River.
Okay.
And so we had to help them out with knowing what those channels were.
Okay.
And that's what the President was alluding to, working very closely with them. It's been good communication between both entities here, and that's where the final product of this would be much more relative to things that you guys understand as far as Alligator Bayou and those channels that reflect each drainage district,
Sure.
council district. So they're working great with us on that, and I think at the end we'll get all that together.
Appreciate that info. Mr. Johnny?
Could we get a copy of your presentation?
Pardon?
Can we get a
Yeah,
copy?
sure. I believe Ms. Liz has a copy of my presentation, so
I think we have it. I couldn't download it.
Any-
We do have it.
Anything else for Mr. John?
That's it. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're going to E, DPW. Mr. Jade?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I'd like to thank each of you, along with President Quintmall, for allowing this opportunity to present the improvements that have been made as of this time at the Public Works Yard. So I believe it's very important to understand what our mission is. So we took the time to develop one, and it brings a meaning to the task at hand. So our mission with our public yards operation is to proudly provide a safe, secure, and organized facility for all Ascension Parish employees and assets. Our vision is to provide a service that allows each department served to be efficient and productive in a manner which supports each of their goals. Values. We arrive every day inspired to make an impact through our talents, passion, and hard work, providing an environment that fosters personal development and professional growth, providing a work environment that is conducive to creating an optimal work-life balance, and constantly pushing ourselves to be our best, focusing on solutions. And finally, our goals. Our goals is the result of supporting our mission, vision, and values. That is to provide a safe workplace and environment, provide a clean and organized facility, improve efficiency and productivity, also while boosting employee morale. So this is a photo of what our yard looked like previously. I'd imagine a year or two ago. Aerial view. I've got a few slides here of the type of debris that shows up in these yards. These are some old signage. Looks like some instruments for surveying. Signage, waste oil containers. These things had various debris. These are items that can cause us a lot of issues with DEQ, can cost a lot of fines. So we took a lot of time to clean that up. This is another video of old tires, items like that. Fencing products, equipment that wasn't being used or malfunctioned. More equipment. Equipment along the fence and property lines behind the fleet shop. So these were what we were facing with cleanup. This is our new DPW laydown yard. All of us know a safe, productive, and efficient laydown yard should consist of only materials necessary to support daily operations and the equipment needed of that facility. As you can see, this yard is designed to represent each of these goals. And this is an expanded view of that laydown yard. Here's another view of that laydown yard. In that pic, you can see right by that crushed asphalt, we've also installed a washout center for our sand trucks and dirt trucks. This allows us to remove debris to keep from tearing our car wash up. It costs us a lot of money to clean this thing. So, another view from the rear of that yard. More views of aggregates stored in this yard. This view right here shows the replaced fence at the rear of the asset yard and the effort given to preserve the bank of Bayou Narcisse. Just to the right of the power pole along the bayou, you'll notice a pile of dirt. This is the area that currently is being revitalized to allow for expanded parking of assets. Here we have a view of the fleet shop along with pavement parking and also the Public Works car wash. Future plans are to install catch basins and culverts to enhance parking capabilities. This view shows the rear of the fleet shop and parking for vehicles or equipment in need of service or repair. If you notice, look at the wonderful canopy that was added to the rear of the shop, allowing for larger equipment to be repaired without any limitations of inclement weather. Also, a gate was added to the rear corner of the fueling station, allowing yard equipment to safely refuel without the need to enter Church Point Road. It's another pic of the rear of the fleet shop. This view shows the center of the asset yard where the employee restrooms, various storage units are between parking and the fleet shop. Future plans are also to cover these ditches, allowing for safe and efficient usage of property. This is a slide, a pic of the old fuel station, which at this time has currently been decontaminated and is in the process of demolition, which will provide for greater parking. At this time, I'm proud to say that the new DPW fueling station is currently serving 100% of the vehicles and assets that require fuel at this site for DPW departments. The yard is only assessed for fuel and supervisor parking as seen. This is just another view of the backside. This is your transportation signage storage. This is a result of another department taking the initiative to organize and clean their storage facility. I think we're rubbing off on them. So I wanted to thank Mr. Iggy for his hard work and effort to make this possible, because it was probably the final addition to really put this together. So it's a good job on his part. Here we see our recycle center, which is part of the Keep Ascension Beautiful program. On any given day, we can see up to 70 vehicles utilizing this recycle center. This area, while under Keep Ascension Beautiful, is run and taken care of by the DPW yard operations team. This here is just a short video aerial shot of that DPW yard. And I'd like to thank Mr. Ricky Compton for taking the time to shoot that video for us. I think he did a very fine job.
Yeah, you can tell amateur did it.
He's not even here to defend.
I gotta tell you, Jade, I was there last year, man. It didn't look like that.
No, sir, it did.
It looks phenomenal, man.
Thank you. So we have some accomplishments. Groundwork along the rear fence of Bayou Narcisse, replacement of that rear fence, allowing the security of our public assets, proper disposal of 29 drums of hazardous waste. This at $10,000 a drum, if DEQ comes and inspects this, we did a pretty good job of getting rid of this at this time. So the gate from the yard to the fueling station was accomplishment. Dedicated laydown yard. Sand and dirt washout box. Water, we now have water down at that laydown yard. Removal of all overhead power removal of the overhead power and installed underground power to the restrooms and pavement storage buildings. Low areas behind the fleet shop were filled with aggregates that were from the courthouse project at no cost for supplies. I'm sure we paid for them at one time, but we were able to reuse those products. Some of the items in progress is that mound of dirt I talked about earlier. That is actually going to be vegetation parking for our tractors. We have a lighting project, which is going to allow us to run all of our power lines on the outsides of on the perimeter of the property. This right here is huge because it's a safety item. We have taller trucks, pieces of machinery. We should not have any power lines running through our yard. So while also enhancing the security, the lighting, the safety of our guys, we take away the ability to hit a power line and cause a lot of damage or maybe even kill somebody. Process of demoing the old fuel station and parking zones per department. That's going to be towards the end, so each department will have their own primary parking. That will give us a bird's-eye view of daily operations, who's on that yard and who's not on that yard. This is just a quick photo shot of that DPW yard lighting plan. This project allows for, well, I did that. What we're looking at is future expansions for security cameras, items like that these power poles are going to provide. Also, the power for maybe some future storage back in that laydown yard or to the rear by Narcisse for smaller equipment. We have a lot of equipment that's left out in the weather. It's very high dollar stuff. I imagine hopefully we get rid of this sewer. Maybe we'd have some money to build a rooftop. So I'd like to see that because we have some very expensive equipment. It's time to meet our team, yard operations team. First, we have Mr. Burnell Green. He's our supervisor. Just 3 years, Burnell's been able to showcase his skills and provide a valuable service for the inner departments within DPW, and has allowed for his mission, vision, values, and goals to set forth for this operations team to blossom. Mr. Burnell he's been a CAO John Diaz hired this fella or moved him into this position. This was a great move. He saw great talent here. He excels every day. He's really, really showcasing as a supervisor. Ron has supplied us with some training, and I can see the training working every day with this gentleman. Very proud of him. This is what the pictures you saw is the result of this guy driving this team. Our next gentleman is Mr. Daniel Terry. We all know him as Bear. Mr. Daniel Terry is master operator. He's been with the parish serving for 24 years. Daniel can operate anything on that yard, does a fine job, and generally does not have to be guided. He's a very great asset to our team. We have Mr. Philip Williams, known as Lightning. He's provided 43 years of service to this parish. Guys, it's a shame I don't know everything he has done. But I can tell you after 43 years, to climb on a backhoe every day and work that yard, dump garbage cans, keep it clean, and be part of this team, that's truly amazing. My hat's off to that guy. So this here is Mr. Ronald Deloche. He is our maintenance tech 2. At this time, he He mans the Keep Ascension Beautiful program, the recycle yard. Ronald has 8 years of service with us. I want to say he comes to us from a program through HR that allows us to put employees to work that has maybe has limitations. So we use that program, and it's allowed Mr. Ronald to support his family by manning this recycle program, and he's done a very good job at it. So very proud of him. To conclude, I'd like to thank the support of Public Works Director Ron Savoy and his entire team. Throughout these processes transforming the DPW yard and accomplishing the mission of this team, all departments have been called upon to support or assist with tasks that are within their specialty. This is truly a team effort, and they are very appreciated. I'd also like to thank Ms. Leslie Daigle. She took the time to put this PowerPoint together. So thank you, Leslie. And that's what I have.
Appreciate you, Mr. Dick. Well, Mr. Joel, you have any questions or comments from
Good work.
Thank
Keep it up.
Mr. Core?
I'm good.
Mr. Terry?
Yeah, performance, look, performance excellence and professionalism does rub off.
Yes, ma'am.
And so thank you so much for setting the standard. We really appreciate you.
Mr. Dow?
Yep, no, it looks great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Johnny?
Outstanding job. This facility is in my district,
Thank you.
and I
Mr.
have
Brown.
had complaints from some of the neighbors, but I will inform them that this has been done.
Yes, sir.
Outstanding. Thank you.
Mr. Mike?
No, just good job. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's Mr. Parish President?
So, as Chairwoman Castro says, that leadership rubs off. Jade set the bar early on when we had him come in and interview. He came in and visited our yard and came in with a vision and a package of what he thought that vision needed to be. So now that bar has been set. Every time we do a job posting for what we consider a very important, we expect or looking forward for a pack of a vision on whatever director it is. So he has set that bar and that standard. We consider him a superstar. But I tell you what, hats off to the guys on the yard. They put in the work, they put in the sweat every day, and hats off to all of them. It looks great, Jade, and we're all proud. We appreciate your work.
Yeah, and I'd just like to add to that, look, I used to get, I know it's Mr. Johnny's district, but the Landry brothers that live in the back haven't had any calls, but I want to let you know, being a good neighbor, this right here explains everything. So I appreciate we being good neighbors, and it's really starting to show. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, number 7, we're going to have an approval. Mr. Ron?
Yes, Chairman. We're asking to enter in an intergovernmental agreement with the Pontchartrain Levee District and East Ascension Drainage District Number 1, utilize the capital outlay funding of the Sorrento Storm Surge Project. If you don't mind, I'd like to go ahead and call up Mr. Henry Picard. He's got a brief presentation to give on this and kind of give some highlights of what we're proposing.
Before we, Mr. Henry, if you don't mind, we have one speaker on this, Mr. Guidry. Would you like to come up? Definitely appreciate you coming tonight.
Thank y'all. I just want to let y'all know my appreciation for this project, and the excitement that I have, basically walking into, like the parish president said, monumental project. This is huge for the town of Sorrento. This is huge for the parish. And, I want to let y'all know, that we're here to help any way we possibly can. Like, whether it be when I take office in July, whether it be if y'all need help with people, y'all need engineering support, y'all need my help. Like, if there's anything that we could do from the town of Sorrento to help with this project, we want to do it. We've been doing a lot of work years past, the last 2 or 3 years, making our own little, what we can afford, to makeshift drainage studies, trying to understand our drainage, trying to find out where our water's flowing, what problems that we're having. You know, so if there's any of the information that we could give to help anybody that's working on this, we'd be glad to assist with that. You know, this could turn some things around, you know, for problems we've been fighting with drainage for years. And I just want to, you know, give y'all, you know, how I say that, you know, 2 thumbs up. Thank y'all, man. Like, it almost, you know, it's heartwarming to be able to look at this and say, hey, man, this is happening right now. So,
Sure.
you know, thanks again. And again, if there's anything we could do to assist in this, we'd be glad to.
We appreciate you coming from the city and helping us, man, with this, and
Yes, sir.
all the buy-in that we can get. It's gonna be a good project. And I know this is Mr. Joel's district, so, Mr. Joel.
Yeah, Chris, I appreciate you coming out here also. I've worked with him over the last couple of years. Also, Ron has worked with us with a lot of these issues and a lot of these problems that this project will resolve, ultimately for Sorrento. And the bigger picture thing is this is actually going to offer surge protection, levee protection to the rest of the parish. Part of the parish that has never seen any type of pump protection or any type of anything before. And this will be huge. The aspect of moving forward to where we can have more development, more homes, more people in Sorrento areas and other outlying areas, because they have more confidence and they can actually build somewhere knowing it's not going to fall. I'm very excited about this project also, and I think it's a very monumental time and we're going to look back to this and think, man, how did we live without this before? Huh?
Yes, indeed.
I believe that.
That's
You know,
right.
I think it's going to change the layout of the town, the layout of, you know, that whole section of the parish.
Well,
You
it
know,
gives some security
It does.
to business, to people, to homes, to everybody. And I mean, I'm sure to the insurance companies and whatnot too. So,
Well, I mean, and if I'm not mistaken, it also, just like a previous presentation we had, it also affect our CRS rating. You know, we're
That's
gonna
right.
have a levied system around that area of town, so, you know, that could push us into the next level, drop us 5% on insurance premiums.
Sure.
You know, so that's huge there.
Anything else, Mr. Guidry?
No, sir, I just wanna thank y'all.
Thank you, man, for
All right,
coming.
y'all have a good one.
You too. Well, we're back to you, Mr. Henry. Come on up and give your presentation.
Okay, thank you. Most of you commissioners know me, but I'm Henry Picard, Senior Vice President, BKI, and thank you for this opportunity. We've got a short little presentation, but basically what we're talking about is the Sorrento Storm Surge Protection Project. And let's see if I get, there we go. Our project sponsors are going to be the combination of the Louisiana Capital Outlay Program, Pontchartrain Levee District, Ascension Parish, and the East Ascension Consolidated Gravity Drainage District. Basically, we've had some historical hurricanes that have impacted this area. 2005 Katrina, 2008 Gustav, and Isaac in 2012. 2012 Isaac was the highest surge water we had from a hurricane, and that came up at 6.38. That was recorded at the Marvin Bro Station. Before that, the highest recorded level was a 4. So what we're talking about is looking at the storm surge. We have mentioned earlier this evening a lot of the 2016 flood. And I just want to caution the commission and all administration, that was a one-time event. It was predicted to be a 500 to 1,000-year flood event. And what happened there is it actually came up and over the levee system over at Highway 22 and flooded the interior as opposed to water coming in from a hurricane surge or anything like that. So it's a little bit different aspect. This is more for your tropical storms, your hurricanes. You see every season, and this is going to help you on a much more frequent basis. Okay? The study area for this is basically bounded by the Interstate 10 to the south, New River Canal, sorry about that. Bayou Francois up to the north, and the east side is basically Bayou Conway and Panama Canal and Bayou Boyle. Sorry about that. This is a quick little map of the study area. As you can see, all the improvements in blue are up in the northern portion of, and does this have a, we don't have a pointer. But basically, it starts on the northern side of Interstate 10, runs along Bayou Conway along the east bank. It then crosses at the current location of the Sorrento pump station. At that point, there will be a gate on Bayou Conway. There will be a gate that allows water into the pump station intake area. And there'll be a third gate that prevents any backwater flooding going into the town of Sorrento at the northern end of the intake basin. We will then travel along the north side or west bank of the canal along the existing levee for Sorrento system, and that will be upgraded. And then all the way up to Airline Highway, where we've got to do a little closure piece. At that point, we'll utilize Airline Highway as part of our protection package, and then pick up on an existing farm levee that goes from Airline up to New River Canal. Everything is being based upon an elevation 8 level, which is the exact same water surface elevation that they're predicting for the West Shore project in both St. John and St. James. That's what they've got for their 2020 project year. This will be upgraded, or could be upgraded over time. The Corps is predicting a water surface rise over their 50 years. We would need to look at something or an alternative project to cover those future things. But as I somewhat described earlier, we've got 3,400 feet of new earthen levee. We've got a floodgate on Bayou Conway, 120 CFS expansion to the Sorrento pump station. We've got a bypass gate going into the intake sump and a backflow gate coming from the Sorrento area. We will then upgrade the Sorrento levee approximately 5,600 feet up to Airline Highway, and then upgrade from Airline Highway to New River Canal, which is approximately 5,400 feet. All of this will be brought up to elevation 8. And once again, 6.3 has been the highest record we've had to date. But this also matches the Corps studies as far as what they predict in the area. We've done some estimates from our schematic level of engineering. We've got a construction cost of roughly $6.5 million. We've estimated some survey costs, geotechnical engineering, permitting, engineering cost for the design of the plans and specifications, and then some resident inspection. We're anticipating approximately a year-long project for that. Total project cost, roughly $7.5 million. Now, the good news is the funding is pretty much in place. We currently have $8.5 million in capital outlay through Pontchartrain Levy District. It's set up as West Shore enhancements. And the reason it was set up this way, when the Corps went with their alternative C alignment, which covered St. Charles, St. John, and a portion of St. James, the $8.5 million that was allocated for PLD for West Shore got reallocated for enhancements for St. James and Ascension. So this money is being allocated towards Ascension. 75% will come from capital outlay funds, 25% will come from Ascension. So for the very first phase of the project, we're looking at roughly $5.6 million coming from capital outlay, $1.9 million coming from East Ascension drainage, for a grand total of about $7.5 million. We talk about some of the improvements in St. James. This is a map that the Corps is currently basing their design on. There are 2 ring levees, or polders, as they call it, for Gramercy and Grand Point. And then there's a series of gates that are being installed along 3125. So that will provide flood and surge protection to the south side of 3125 for St. James. And in order to take and make this consistent with the Corps' plan and with what the parish is looking at, we have looked at an overall plan, which the Sorrento is a portion of, but basically this is future improvements that will go all the way from 3125 along Highway 70, around the landfill, and then tie into the point close to the Interstate 10 where Sorrento starts out. That is the second phase, or possibly even the third phase of the project, but what we're concentrating on now is getting the first phase started. This is the additional work that needs to be done. There's flap gates along Highway 70, new levee, 3,800 feet of new, 4,800 upgrade, multiple gates, and a 320 CFS pump station on Panama Canal, and then 7,800 feet of brand new levee from the landfill up to the south side of the interstate. And that covers my presentation. If y'all have any questions, I'm more than happy to address those for you.
Mr. Chase.
Thank you, Mr. Henry. On the capital outlay, the $8.5 million, on our phase 1, we would be utilizing roughly about 5.6, 5.7. That other $2.83 million, is there any chance that we lose that, or can we sit on that until phase 2 and 3 potentially?
Basically, what happens when we've got $8.5 million with them. We will obligate the funds through the initial design and construction, and generally, because we've got a multi-phase program, they'll allow us to keep the remaining balance, and we will then also be going back to capital outlay for additional funding for the later phases. So that's the argument for keeping them in place. But as you are aware with capital outlay, it's an annual occurrence. You've got to go fight for that money every year. And BKI has done that for Pontchartrain Levy District since we originally got the funding back in 2012. So we've been able to keep that funding in place for doing improvements such as this.
Okay, thank you. That's the only thing
No
I
problem.
have right this minute.
Mr. Joe.
I know that this project has a lot when you start talking about phase 2 and possibly even phase 3, but I just wanted you to reiterate that phase 1 is going to be providing immediate relief, once we build the part out that we are
Yes.
talking about.
Because the Interstate 10 acts as a natural levee right now, we're utilizing that. we've got that occurrence all over South Louisiana. Highways, railroads, interstates, all create a surge barrier. But what this will do, this will take the area that is north of I-10 all the way up to Bayou Francois, New River Canal, and will protect that up to elevation 8. If you guys do remember, during the 2016 flood, what happened was the water came from Highway 22, came all the way down to New River Canal, overflowed that levee to the south, flooded the area around Highway 70 and 22, and then started to proceed, go down south to St. James. This would help protect that area that got flooded there. And it will protect water from coming back up into the area. I mean, Sorrento's already got a small levee, but we're gonna be raising it, so it'll provide further protection for them. The gate closure will protect all of Bayou Conway and Bayou Boyle upstream of the gate location. The important part of what it's going to allow us to do is, for example, at Marvin Bro, you can close the gate at roughly elevation 2, mean sea level, or 1.7 NABD 88, which is the current datum. But you have got a fair amount of wetlands that will be behind this levee, just like you do in Marvin Bro. But what the important part is, you can close that gate. Instead of allowing the water to come up to elevation 4 or 5, you can close it at 2. And that gives you 3 feet of storage that can attenuate that rainfall event and prevent home floodings. The goal is to get it out of your neighborhoods, into the wetland detention pond areas, and as soon as the surge goes down, which is usually a day or two, you can then release that water and get it out. We've got pumps into it so that it will pump as you go. These are not going to be as big as things like the Marvin Bro or your other pump stations, but this is intended to just handle the rainfall event from these hurricanes and tropical storms, typically a 10-year storm, and utilize the basins that you've got for storage, but keep from flooding homes.
And I was in Sorrento today, it's across the whole parish. I mean, we got a lot of rain. And
Yeah.
the Conway was high and quick.
Now, we still intend to have like a rainfall today. We've
still
got
gonna-
gravity drainage gates. We're going to let it go out gravity. But when we have that surge coming in, that would then backwater flood houses, we'll cut it off. And that's the trick, is to leave that storage area for storage. Mr. President Quintin.
There's another important component is on the north side of Airline Highway. So when we're running a Marvin Bro pumping station, and Ron can testify, when we get into these major storm events, we have to have large trucks just to get to Marvin Bro. There's no levee protection system there. So as it's going down, the cuts in the levee that allow it to go out into the swamp recirculates back and heads towards Boyce's crawfish ponds that are now mitigation bank. There's no real protection there for us. And so this would be connected into the Marvin Bro on that, and then connect into Airline, providing levee protection for that backflow for that area. So that's another important component.
Very good, very good. Ms. Terry, you had something? You finished, Joe?
I'll let everyone else, I
Go
just
ahead.
wanted to,
Okay.
go ahead, yeah.
Thank you. I think I might have missed one thing. 6.3 is the highest level to date that we have
At
had.
Marvin Bro during Isaac.
And 8 is where we're protecting
We're
to.
going to provide protection to elevation 8, which matches the same elevation that the Corps got on their West Shore levee.
Okay, so you briefly referred to a predicted core water level rise.
Yeah, they anticipate, all Corps projects are designed for 50-year life. They look at sea level rise, they look at subsidence. And over a period of 50 years, they anticipate the levees have to be raised up for just those occurrences. But we're going to start with their 2020 value just like they did. Will sea level rise as quickly as they anticipate? Will subsidence happen? This portion of Ascension Parish is a little bit more stable. You've got the Pleistocene roughly down 20 feet. We found that at Marvin Bro. You won't see the subsidence they'll see, say, over in St. John and St. Charles. You should see less. Sea level rise, that's an unknown for everybody. Everybody says there's going to be some based upon global warming, whether it's low, intermediate, or fast sea level rise. Nobody can tell you that right now, but the Corps has been using the intermediate level sea level rise for their predictions, and that's something they're going to track as the project life goes.
So what is that, what is that predicted water level rise now?
2070 would be elevation 16.
So in just 20, how long, 2070?
2070, in 50 years, yes.
Thank you.
You won't be around.
I won't have to worry. I was just thinking that. I'm not going to worry about it.
I won't be around either.
Chase is probably the only one needs to worry about it.
Thank you,
Maybe
Eric.
Dow.
So an important component of what Chairwoman Cass was talking about is the right-of-way acquisition, that it needs to be able to secure this right-of-way today. So in case we need to enhance those levees, we don't have to come back and buy right-of-way. That was an important conversation and piece to this.
Correct.
So we're going to require enough right-of-way, so when we enhance those levees, we don't have to go back again. Let's do it the first time, and that'll prepare us for the future on whatever administration and council want to go ahead and improve and heighten those levees.
Thank you for that.
Sure.
Thank you.
Mr. Dow?
Yeah, so, no, I mean, this all sounds like I of course want more data. That's just me, but, I guess I had some issues with the way the CEA was currently written, and I think Chase had talked to Mr. Poirier about it, but, I mean, if we approve this, I'd like to see some different language as far as, if we're just talking about phase one tonight, I think we're talking about approving, around 1.9 million?
That is correct.
There was just some inconsistencies in what I saw written, and I don't know, I'd like to see those fixed before we sign it, but again, I'm just one person up here, but it just seemed like we were approving 6-point-something million against, I guess, 8.5. I mean, it just seems like we're almost to that 25%, although I heard a different.
The 6 million is based upon the full project cost of roughly 24 million. So in essence, the 25% rule again.
Right. But that's not written in the CEA, though.
They do specifically talk a 25% match, and that's where that 6.6 million is. And I'm sure Dwight can work through those issues with the drainage district's legal counsel. But that was
real quick? You mind if I just
basis of how that 6 million. So, and that is meant to be as an upset cap, not to say that you guys have to come up with $6.6 million now. It's going to be based upon the 25% match for each individual phase, and as you do the phases, you would then provide that local match.
So do we approve that funding every time we go through a different phase? So at this point, are we just
I would
approving
assume
phase
so,
one?
because you'd have to approve going to the next phase. To go to phase two, y'all are going to have to approve going to phase two, and at that time, you would then approve the match.
Okay. And therein lies my issue. I would think that we would just approve the monies for phase one, but go ahead. No, I mean, we talked about this today.
They wanted to write the
It's fine to
agreement for
have
the
the
whole
discussion.
project, is what the intent was.
Yeah.
And maybe tweaking of that language can be done to differentiate the individual phases as opposed to the commitment for the total project.
Okay.
Mr. President, hold on, Dwight. Mr. President?
Yeah, so if you, in order to do the entire thing and receive the benefit, you have to do phase two at some point in time, because then you leave Panama Canal open. And in doing so, you're subject to that surge through Panama Canal, which is connected to Conway. So you have to do both. And so I think that's why the CEA is written way. If you're going to do phase one, you're going to need to do phase two. It is a total entire project. If you don't do phase two, I mean, it would be like, doing half of something and not completing it
But
in order for the whole project.
someone just said that phase one would show benefit, so.
It absolutely will show immediate benefits, certainly in the town of Sorrento more directly,
Okay.
as well as south part of Gonzales. But to complete the system, you would need to have that pumping station and to seal off Panama. Not doing so would be an incomplete project. And I believe that's why the CEAs, but I'll let Dwight, because I know he's only writing that CEA, so I'll let him comment on the language.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, what happens in paragraph 3 of the agreement, there's a pledge of 25% of the $6 million figure. That's what East Ascension Gravity Drainage District is pledging, just the 25%. The $6 million is a figure when you calculate in the match for capital outlay. The reason we drafted the agreement to include phase 2 and phase 3, someone asked a question earlier about the remaining money from capital outlay. To keep that money within this project, if we finish and we say this is just phase 1, when phase 1 is done, there's $2 million left over. That $2 million is gone to some other district of some other senator. And so we are contemplating doing all 3 phases, and that's how it's written. But there's only one pledge here for financial contribution from the East Ascension Gravity Drainage District, and that is for the $1.9 million, or I think it's a little less than that, the numbers that Mr. Pecor went through with you. So that's why the agreement's drafted that way. We fought long and hard to keep this money with the Pontchartrain Levy District, and we intend to use it within our district and to provide protection, because as West Shore is built, it will make this area more vulnerable, and we're certainly interested in protecting our districts, which would represent 6 parishes, and 3 of them are getting protection from West Shore, and this one's not, and this one's next in line. So that's the whole focus of it, and that's why we have the CEA drafted the way it is. But if there's some changes or there's some tweaks, I spoke with John Paul earlier today. If there's something that he wants to do to make you feel more comfortable with the figure of the pledge of $1.9 million, then we can certainly put that figure in there and put that language in there, and be glad to do it. Any other substantive change, then I would need to bring this back to the Board of Commissioners. We're hopeful not to do that because, as you know, the legislative session started yesterday. We need to hold that money. It's a fight every year. It's been a fight for years. Just for information purposes, West Shore was authorized in 1971. It's been a battle for a long time. And to keep this money and move it from West Shore to the enhancement program was quite a battle in 2019. And we still fight that battle every day because there's senators out there, representatives out there that all need money for their districts. And Senator Price, Senator Lambert needs to get some kudos for keeping this money here for Ascension Parish. And also Senator Gary Smith down from St. Charles and St. John had a lot of influence in that as well. So.
Okay.
Good deal. You had anything else, Dow?
No, I mean, I would just like to see it stated more clearly. And that's just, I mean, if we start phase 2, everybody up here may not be here, so I would think, if it's for the $8.5 million, I think we're almost spending that on the phase 1. So if there's some monies that you need past that, that's fine too. When I read it, it just didn't seem to represent what I was hearing, so. But Jean Paul, if you read it, I mean, I'm not a lawyer, so it didn't seem right to me the way it was written, but it seems like we're committing the $6.7 million without knowing what phase 2 even looks like at this point. So that was just my point.
No, it's the capital outlay totals $8.5 million. We're required as the local entity to put up 25% of that amount.
Okay.
So the actual number that we have available when you count the local match exceeds 10 million. This project here is estimated to be about 7 million. So you're gonna have about 3 million left to start work towards another phase. And hopefully, once you get dirt turning and projects moving, it's a whole lot easier to get money. We all know that. And so this agreement is crafted so that we can do this phase one. We're gonna have money left from the capital outlay, which will require another little additional match to get the rest of that. This is just for what's estimated here.
Right.
So it keeps us in the game and hopefully keeps the money tied to this project and these two entities.
Sure,
So-
sure.
But I'll be glad to speak again with John Paul, and we'll make sure the language is in accordance with what
So-
makes you guys comfortable.
So I certainly don't want to delay it to the next drainage. Is it a possibility to motion it to the parish council meeting with the additions? Because I'd say we're voting on something that's maybe
I
not.
think you have to stay, it's gotta come from there.
It's gotta stay in drainage.
Stay in drainage. Autonomous board.
You finished, Mr. Dow?
Yep.
Mr. Chase?
Just to clarify, whenever we spoke about it today, so the wording is that EAC GDD1 East Ascension Consolidated Gravity Drainage District 1 agrees to participate, and it lists the $6 million figure, and then down it says that we specifically pledge local match required by capital outlay, namely 25%. So that 25% is the actual number we're agreeing to, and not the 6.6 million.
And the reason that is not a set number is because these costs are just projected costs. We have no way of knowing if this is gonna be a $7.7 million project, or a $6.2 million project, or an $8.9 million project. So what we're trying to do is, we're gonna put up $8.5 million, up to $8.5 million. We asking you guys to put up 25% of that 8.5 million.
Okay.
Okay.
At
All right, so
maximum-
worst case is
maximum,
2.3
right,
for us, worst
right,
case.
Right, so,
Okay. Because I read it the same way that Councilman Wagasback read it until we spoke, and you pointed out that 25% is the actual number we're, committing to tonight of the total project, but we're gonna go
right,
in
that is-
phases.
that is your limitation.
Gotcha. Okay. I just want to clear that up,
Let
because,
me clarify one issue, that the 8.5 million represents the 75% match from capital outlay. The local match would be 2.83 million, because remember, it's 1/4, 3/4.
right.
So the math has got to work in that respect.
Right,
But
okay.
the reason the $6 million comes into play is we have a grand total project cost estimate, which is estimated right now at 24 million, which the 6 million is that 25% local match of the total 24.
Right, but we're not agreeing to that. That's where the confusion comes in, because if you're talking about the 6.6 being the 25% of the 24, then this is, to me, this is not written right, but that's just me. If
Well,
the
that-
25% represents 25% of the 6.6, which is actually now 7.5, which you updated in your presentation, then that's what we're agreeing to tonight, correct, Dwight? Mr. Poirier?
Right, it's 25% of the capital outlay match.
For phase
And
one.
Henry's right, the capital outlay is not like taking 25% of the total capital outlay. The capital outlay amount represents 75% of the total project costs. So you can figure it that away, but you're only gonna have 25% of the capital outlay. Up to the project costs.
Right, but if we're capturing, go ahead.
Is that the president? Yeah, he's,
Go ahead,
All
man.
right, so this project was broken up into phases so that we could start immediately to capture the 8.5, giving us the warnings by the senator saying, listen, they're coming for this money. You need to, and that's why it was broken up into phases. in order to, in saying that you're not going to do the other phases and committing to telling Pelican Point, Pelican Crossing, Ascension Trace, and all of Dara that you shouldn't receive this protection, only Sorrento. The whole project in a scope is what we're asking for here. So it is the 25% match of the 24. And so if you can visualize that, that may help make your decision better, because we have it in the budget for $4 million this year. That will get us through phase one, and then we need to budget accordingly, multi-year budgeting for moving forward. But the whole concept is to provide protection for everything south of 30, everything, Dara, south of Gonzales, Conway subdivision, Pelican Point. I mean, countless subdivisions, including all future growth through that corridor. So we're essentially asking, yes, approve the whole project, because we don't want to leave anybody out. All these subdivisions, all these residents, they deserve as much protection as anybody else. So monetarily, if it makes you feel better, yes, 25%, $6 million, that's what we're asking for that approval to move forward.
But be aware that only phase one will be initiated at this time with about a $7.5 million.
Understand. And by the way, I'm not saying I would not want to protect any of those folks, but this was thrown at us a week ago. I mean, you guys have been seeing it for I don't know how long, so I would just ask for more information up front. I mean, to decide on a project that large with a week's notice is pretty tough, so.
One
Well,
other thing,
and I'll
Councilman.
take some of that blame.
No,
I
just one other
will.
thing is like, the bigger issue lies with Punch Train Levy District, because our pledge is the capital outlay dollars. I can tell you right now, all we have is 8.5 million.
Sure.
We don't have capital outlay to bring it to the 24 million. So, our obligation is to provide the capital outlay. Y'all provide the local match. Currently, that capital outlay total is capped at 8.5 million, and we have to make sure we keep it this session.
Sure.
And it should allow this whole project to fall within that amount, together with the local match. So while we approve and doing this whole phase project, we don't have the funding for it. So it will take us having a second and third effort to be back before one another, because I definitely have to go back before my board.
Sure.
To do anything. So therein lies the protection of where we at right now, Councilman Wagisback.
Okay.
Mr. Dwight, hold on. Go ahead, Mr. Jones.
And that's what I was wanting to reiterate, is the fact that right now there is only $8.5 million. So this agreement can't be to more than 25% of that $8.5 million, because that's all that's available. I mean, there's so many parts and moving parts that have to go through before then. And I just want to reiterate one more time, I mean, this is a huge deal. This is something that District 2 and that side of the parish has been looking for my lifetime. And it can even expand into helping the other side of the parish. Eventually, if we actually can pump into the Mississippi River, I mean, that can help the other side of the parish immensely, with moving the water across the different areas. But this project in itself has enough merit to provide something that we have looked and strived for my lifetime. And if we let this money go and we keep putting it off, and it goes, we're going to be last on any list for any money from Pontchartrain Levy District or any other place. We want to be over there and known to say, hey, somebody else doesn't want this project, Ascension's going to take the money, they're going to do the studies, they're going to put in the due diligence and help us out this jam. And I understand all of your, concerns and comments, and I do take part of the blame also. I've known about this project since election time, because I've been briefed on it from the beginning by Mr. Ron Savoy. And we have talked about it hours and many times. And kind of like everything else, maybe we should have involved the rest of the council before we did. But right now, at this point, with the money that's available, I think it's pretty clear that we can't risk more than 25% of the 8 million.
Mr. Mike?
I'd like to second Joel's motion.
Okay. We should,
Approval.
anyone else on the,
So I had one more question. I mean, are you happy with the language? You feel like it's representative of, we're not,
What I understand it to be is the maximum estimated costs of all the phases is 24 million.
okay?
Regardless of what it is, you're committing to 25%, but the total estimated is 24 million. Phase one has 8.5 million, and you're
Okay.
committing to 25%.
Okay.
And that's it.
All right.
And right now, to get the 8.5 million, you're committing to 25%. And no matter what happens going forward, it's going to be that 25%. And you have a commitment that it's total 24, 8.5 now. And that's how I understand it. And I think that comes out in the language. Could it have been written better? Yes. Could we put a simple paragraph that says, total projected 24, 8.5 now, 25% of that? Yes. Could we scratch that on the end of this? Maybe so, I don't know. He'll go for it. But, literally, that would clarify, I think, I think everybody's good with that. It's just you need clarification so that you're sure that's what it is. But I'm okay with it.
Okay. And by the way, Mr. Poirier, it wasn't my intention to tear apart your language. As I read it, it just left some gray areas for me.
No, that's
In
fine.
trying to understand what I'm committing the parish to pay, so.
That's fine. I mean, honestly, we drafted, and we're trying to hold money, and there's some madness to the reasons of putting it that way, because we're trying to keep this project moving, and we're trying to go get more money. But I can tell you, we cannot get more money until we spend some money.
Yeah.
Because 2 years ago, we had 10.5 million in capital outlay. Now we're down to 8.5. So we have to spend some money, or we're not gonna continue to hold this money. So we try to draft things so that we can be clear, but we definitely need to be clear between us, because ultimately, we're the partners in this agreement. But we also want things in such a way that allows us to do the other things we need to do in Baton Rouge.
sure.
So,
Mr. Chase?
Yeah, and I fully support it. If it was in our budget, I'd, feel happy with the full 6.6 now. I was just thrown off because on the last sentence in section 3, upon request by POD, EACGDD1 shall deposit funds in a joint account, and we had 4 million in the budget this year, and there's a 6.6 number. So I was worried, for us to make that happen this year, we'd have to do budget amendments and everything else. So that's,
your match is 25% of the capital
Yeah.
outlay dollars. I can tell you we got 2.3 in priority 1, and the balance of the 8.5 is in priority 5.
perfect.
I don't know, as far as the agreement, that's what it calls for, but essentially, what we'll need to do is have you guys pay that money in. If it's more of an accounting question, our accounting can get with your accounting, and they can, we've done it both ways. We've done it on an invoice basis, we've done it on a just deposit the money into an account, and we'll spend it that way. So whatever works better for your accounting, I think would be fine with us. But we have the responsibility with capital outlay and facility planning to do all the accounting for them and their purposes. So that will be actually the final determinative factor. And I'm not the CPA, I'm not the accountant, but we'll certainly work with whatever we need to do to make you guys comfortable on the accounting end, as well as making Henry and I not get in trouble on our end. So
You're not a CPA, and we're not lawyers, as you can tell.
Neither one of us look good in orange stripes.
Okay, I have no further comments or questions, Chairman.
Mr. Johnson?
One section, 13, item 13, amendment, gives me a lot of comfort. Any amendment or modification of this contract shall be agreed upon by both PLD and EA, Gravity Drainage District, and evidenced by a written signed agreement, amendment. So, you know, it's a contract,
it
but
up for you.
it can be amended.
And I'll end it with, look, this has been a COVID mess, and, you know, it's multi-parish, stuff that we've been dealing with here. And we can sit here and wait, but there's gonna be a levy that's coming from St. John's Parish, and it's best we move ourselves in position to get protected, because, other parishes will take care of their parish, and, I sure want to be on the top end of this deal. So Mr. Joe made a motion, Mr. Michael seconded. Do we have any other discussion? Do we have any opposition? Not? Thank y'all so much.
Thank y'all.
Let me get y'all some handouts.
With that, we have another approval. Mr. Ron?
Yeah, this came before you guys at the last meeting, approval to enter in a cooperative endeavor between Louisiana Department of Transportation Development and East Ascension Consolidated Gravity Drainage District Number 1, roadside ditch maintenance. I believe you guys wanted more information, a little clarity on a process and procedure for the flow of the work. And I've attached in the packet that procedure's been drafted, the flow chart along with it. And we've sent this out to DOTD. They are fine with it. And I think our attorneys blessed it. And a couple other people have commented, and everything seems to be fine. And I'll entertain any
I'd
questions.
like to make a motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Chase, second by Mr. Joel. Any discussion? Any opposition? None. Motion passed. Thanks everyone for this hard work, and I know DOTD will work with us on these roadside ditches. All right, we're gonna go to C, executive session.
Motion to enter executive session.
Second.
Ms. Liz, would you give us a roll call, please?
Commissioner Robert,
Yes.
Commissioner Malonzo,
Yes.
Commissioner Cazo,
Yes.
Commissioner Wagasback,
Yes.
Commissioner Cagnolati,
Yes.
Commissioner Mason,
Yes.
Chairman Lambert.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mike.
I'd like to make a motion to reconvene,
Second?
and then I would,
Probably wait till everybody gets here. Yeah, we gotta wait till we get a
wait
quorum.
on Ms. Terry and Mr. Robert.
We have a motion, a second to reconvene.
Like to make a-
Motion.
Like to make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Chase to adjourn,
Second.
second by Mr. Johnson. Thank you, good night. We adjourn.